What would drive an actor with absolutely no legal training or professional qualification to essentially declare himself the legal representative and spokesperson for another major celebrity in a high-stakes financial lawsuit against a powerful entertainment agency, accused of systematically stealing millions of dollars through accounting fraud and contractual manipulation? The legal and entertainment worlds collided in absolute shock yesterday when Lu Yuning appeared alongside Zhao Lusi at an emergency press conference announcing a massive lawsuit against her former management agency. But instead of allowing her actual licensed attorneys to speak, Lu Yuning himself took the microphone and delivered a furious detailed accusation claiming the agency had engaged in years of financial misconduct that resulted in Zhao Lusi losing approximately half of her earned income through hidden fees, undisclosed deductions, fraudulent expense charges, and deliberate mismanagement of her financial accounts. The audacity of Lu Yuning, who has no legal credentials whatsoever, positioning himself as Zhao Lusi's primary advocate and representative in what will likely be one of the most complex and contentious entertainment industry lawsuits in recent history, has left legal professionals absolutely baffled about what role he actually thinks he can or will play in the proceedings, while also raising questions about whether his emotional involvement and lack of legal expertise might actually harm rather than help Zhao Lusi's case against an agency that will undoubtedly deploy the most sophisticated and aggressive legal defense available. Why would Zhao Lusi, who presumably can afford the absolute best legal representation money can buy, allow or encourage Lu Yuning to serve as her public face and spokesperson in a lawsuit involving such enormous financial stakes and complex legal issues that require expertise and strategic communication he simply does not possess? According to sources close to both stars, Lu Yuning's involvement in the legal battle stems from his deep personal anger about what he believes was done to Zhao Lusi by people she trusted with her career and finances during vulnerable periods, when she lacked the knowledge and support network to protect herself from exploitation. His decision to actively insert himself into the legal process apparently came after months of witnessing Zhao Lusi's distress, as she gradually uncovered the full extent of the alleged financial misconduct and realized just how much money she should have earned but never received. The fact that Lu Yuning's public statements at the press conference included specific allegations about fraud, theft, and breach of fiduciary duty without apparent consultation with actual legal counsel has created immediate concern among legal experts who warn that his unfiltered accusations could create liability issues or provide the opposing side with ammunition to use against Zhao Lusi's case. The detail that has legal analysts absolutely horrified in Zhao Lusi's actual attorneys, presumably pulling their hair out, is that during the press conference, Lu Yuning apparently went completely off script and revealed specific financial figures and allegations that the legal team had explicitly planned to keep confidential during early litigation phases, potentially compromising legal strategy and giving the former agency advance warning about exactly what evidence and arguments Zhao Lusi's side intends to present. Multiple sources confirmed that the licensed attorneys present at the press conference were visibly uncomfortable as Lu Yuning spoke, with at least one attempting to interrupt and redirect the conversation only to be waved off by Lu Yuning, who appeared determined to publicly detail every allegation and piece of evidence regardless of whether doing so served the legal strategy or exposed vulnerabilities that opposing counsel could exploit. The question of whether Zhao Lusi authorized or encouraged this uncontrolled public disclosure, or whether Lu Yuning acted against legal advice because his anger and protective instincts overwhelmed his judgment, will likely become significant as the case proceeds, and as the consequences of his revelations become apparent. The allegations that Lu Yuning detailed during his unauthorized legal commentary include claims that Zhao Lusi's former agency engaged in systematic theft through multiple mechanisms, including charging inflated and fraudulent expense deductions against her earnings, creating fictional costs for services that were never actually provided or that were grossly overcharged compared to market rates, taking percentage cuts of her income that exceeded contractual terms through hidden fees and accounting manipulations, failing to pursue or collect payment from brands and productions that owed her money while telling her these accounts were uncollectible, and potentially diverting portions of her earnings into personal accounts of agency executives through shell companies and complex financial structures designed to obscure the theft. If these allegations are accurate and can be proven, they represent not just civil breach of contract but potentially criminal fraud and embezzlement that could result in criminal charges beyond the civil lawsuit seeking financial recovery. The specific claim that Zhao Lusi has lost approximately half of her total career earnings to these allegedly fraudulent practices has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, with the implied magnitude of the theft reaching potentially tens of millions of dollars given her success and the substantial fees commanded by top-tier actresses in China. The fact that such massive financial misconduct could apparently occur over multiple years without being detected or stopped raises disturbing questions about oversight and protection mechanisms for entertainers who often lack the financial expertise and support systems to recognize when they are being systematically robbed by the very people they trust to manage their business affairs and protect their interests. The evidence that Zhao Lusi's legal team has apparently compiled to support their allegations includes years of financial records, contracts, invoices, bank statements, and communications between Zhao Lusi and her former agency that allegedly reveal patterns of deception and financial manipulation. The discovery process through which this evidence was obtained apparently involved forensic accounting work by financial investigators who specialized in uncovering hidden fees and fraudulent charges in entertainment industry contracts, with their analysis reportedly identifying hundreds of questionable transactions and charges that, when accumulated, represent the massive alleged theft. Lu Yuning's decision to publicly reference specific examples of this evidence during the press conference, including mentioning particular fraudulent invoices and fabricated expense charges, has created a situation where opposing counsel now knows exactly what documentation exists and can begin preparing defenses or alternative explanations before official legal discovery process even begins. The former agency's immediate response to the lawsuit and press conference has been aggressive denial of all allegations combined with counteraccusations that Zhao Lusi is engaging in defamation and attempting to avoid paying legitimate debts and obligations she owes to the agency for services provided during their relationship. Their statement characterized the lawsuit as motivated by Zhao Lusi's resentment about their financial dispute and her desire to avoid responsibility for costs she contractually agreed to bear, framing themselves as victims of an ungrateful former client rather than as perpetrators of fraud. The stark contrast between the competing narratives from both sides guarantees that this will be a contentious, heavily litigated battle rather than quick settlement, with both parties apparently willing to engage in extended legal warfare despite the costs and risks involved. The question of Lu Yuning's actual legal role and authority in Zhao Lusi's case has become subject of confusion and concern, with legal professionals noting that he cannot serve as her attorney or legal representative in any official capacity without proper credentials and licensing, meaning his self-appointed role must be limited to personal support and public advocacy, rather than actual legal representation in proceedings. However, the way Lu Yuning presented himself during the press conference and his apparent access to confidential legal information and strategy suggests he has been granted extraordinary involvement in information access that goes well beyond what would typically be appropriate for someone who is neither licensed counsel nor party to the case. Zhao Lusi's actual attorneys face challenging position of trying to prevent Lu Yuning's well-intentioned but potentially damaging interventions while maintaining relationship with their client who appears to value his involvement and support. The financial impact of the lawsuit on both parties will be enormous regardless of outcome, with legal fees alone likely to reach millions of dollars given the complexity of the case and the resources both sides will deploy. For Zhao Lusi, the emotional toll of relitigating years of alleged exploitation and betrayal will add to the financial costs, while the former agency faces not just potential liability for damages but destruction of their reputation and business if the allegations are proven accurate. The fact that Lu Yuning has inserted himself so prominently into the conflict means his own reputation and credibility are now also at stake, with potential embarrassment and criticism if his involvement proves counterproductive, or if the case ultimately resolves in ways that contradict his explosive public allegations. The entertainment industry's response to the lawsuit and allegations has been a mixture of shock at the magnitude of claimed fraud, concern about whether similar practices might be occurring with other agencies and talent, and uncomfortable recognition that the power imbalances between young performers and experienced business professionals create conditions where exploitation can occur even without obvious red flags or warning signs. Several other actors have reportedly begun conducting their own audits and reviews of financial arrangements with their management teams, suggesting that Zhao Lusi's decision to expose alleged fraud might inspire broader examination of industry practices and potentially additional revelations about misconduct. In conclusion, Lu Yuning's shocking decision to effectively appoint himself as Zhao Lusi's legal representative and public advocate in her massive lawsuit against her former agency, accused of stealing approximately half her career earnings through systematic fraud, creates unprecedented situation where someone with no legal training or qualification is driving public narrative and disclosure strategy in complex high-stakes litigation that requires sophisticated legal expertise and careful strategic communication. His furious detailed public allegations, including specific examples of purported fraud and financial misconduct, delivered without apparent coordination with Zhao Lusi's actual licensed attorneys who appeared uncomfortable with his uncontrolled revelations, has potentially compromised legal strategy, while guaranteeing that this already contentious case will become even more dramatic and publicly scrutinized. Whether Lu Yuning's protective rage and desire to defend Zhao Lusi against people he believes exploited and robbed her will ultimately help or harm her legal case remains to be seen.